Good morning and welcome back to the Everyday Home. I am in the kitchen because I have been procrastinating with a project for the last couple of weeks. I really need to get something on my pantry shelf that we have not had, and we are very much missing it. And today I've decided today's the day I'm going to can it. But I'm holding my mic because I actually need to get my apron on. I'm going to start the project with the apron because we are going to be making something messy today. Well, the potential of it being messy is high. And with the way I can, it is very high. So we're going to go into the pink room. Oh, I wanted to give you guys an update. So last week I told you that my Amish paste were struggling. This week they are all looking perfect. I remember last year too, at the very beginning when I seed started my Amish paste, they looked really rough. And then for some reason, like week 3, they bounce back and they are beautiful plants now. So I don't know, it's just maybe that seed packet, it's just really weird. They start out looking very sick, but then they just come to life after that. So I'm in my pantry because we are going to be repurposing something. We eat a lot of pasta sauce, like a lot of it. We probably have it once a week. And I was experimenting with a recipe out of one of my canning books, and I made it this one time and we loved it. It was a spicy garlic marinara. So I made it again last fall with some of my tomatoes. This particular batch of spicy garlic marinara is very spicy, and we don't love it all the time when having spaghetti because it's almost just a tad bit too spicy for the spaghetti. So I am going to make my OG pasta sauce, but we are only in March, so we are not in tomato season. We are not even close to being in tomato season. I'm actually going to go and turn those lights off because my face is looking pink. Hold on. Okay, there we go. I am not a pink person. A little bit too much pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repurpose some of my plain tomato sauce. So this is just regular plain tomato sauce. There's nothing in it, no salt, no pepper, no seasoning, just tomatoes pureed down. Now this stuff is really runny, so we're going to have to let this pasta sauce sit for a while in the slow cooker. I was going to make it in a pot on my stove, but I don't want that to take up a stovetop because this probably is going to take a good 10 hours to cook down. We like our pasta sauce to be nice and thick. I don't like a runny pasta sauce. When it turns out really runny, we have a name for it here and it's called pasta soup, and I am not trying to do that today. So I'm going to repurpose some of these. I really wanted to repurpose some of my diced tomatoes because some of these are from, see, 2023. They are still perfectly fine. I am using them all the time. They're still fresh as can be. In using these diced tomatoes, that means that I would actually have to use my food mill and just hand mill all of the seeds out. These do not have skins on them, so at least there's that. But I don't like seeds in my pasta sauce, so that means that I would have to do that. I actually looked at getting one of those attachments for my grinder. I have a Cabela's grinder and we got it a couple years ago and I love it. Cabela's makes an attachment for most of their grinders that you can actually puree tomatoes with, like make a sauce with it. You just attach it to it, but it is only for their commercial grinders. So I unfortunately can't get it. I looked on Amazon and I can't find anything. If you guys know of a machine food mill, like one that I can just turn on and use, please leave it in the comments because I don't really feel like hand milling stuff this year. I'm just going to be lazy and I just want to get a machine to do it for me. That's why we're not going to be using these diced tomatoes. It's honestly going to be more of a project that I just really want, just a quick and easy project. So we're just going to repurpose some tomato sauce and we're going to make some amazing pasta sauce with it. And like I said last week, I really need a good tomato harvest this year because I am so low on tomato products. But luckily I did can a lot of tomato sauce last year. The weather has been beautiful and my oregano outside has been going crazy. Oregano is part of the mint family, and if you plant it in a spot, it will take over everything. Anyways, we need to go out and pick some fresh oregano for this recipe. Let's see what else we need. So we need some onions, which is perfect. We have frozen onions. We have frozen peppers, because this recipe calls for red and green pepper. I'm just going to use mixed color. I don't care if they're red or green. We're just going to use some out of the freezer. Tomato paste. Just kind of going through my list here. Actually, this recipe calls for dried oregano, but we might use some fresh stuff. No, we'll just use the stuff that we brought in the other day. Calls for almost a cup of brown sugar. I think I'm going to try to use coconut sugar in this recipe because coconut sugar and brown sugar are really, really interchangeable. Coconut sugar just is a tad bit easier on blood sugar levels than regular sugar, so we're going to use some coconut sugar in this. Now, this recipe, if you have fresh tomatoes, perfect. You're going to use 25 pounds of fresh tomatoes. You could even use frozen tomatoes if you have them in your freezer that you saved up from last year and you need something to do with them. This recipe is perfect for it. So you're going to use 25 pounds of tomatoes. If you want to use canned stuff, which is perfect. If you can find canned tomato sauce on sale, like just a plain tomato sauce, this recipe is perfect just to repurpose it and make a very, very quick, easy to go meal with the pasta sauce. So what you're going to do is if you're going to use the canned stuff, you're going to use 14 cans of the 14.5 ounce cans, or you're going to use 7 cans of the 28 ounce. You can use diced tomatoes or you can use like the regular tomato sauce, whatever one. If you're using the diced tomatoes and are super picky like me, you're gonna have to run that stuff through the food mill just to kind of get those seeds out. Ours is gonna be a little bit chunky because normally when I run stuff through the food mill, I'm also running my onions through it so I don't have big chunks of onions. But what we're gonna do instead of running it through the food mill is I'm just gonna use my immersion blender after it's cooked down for about a couple hours, and then that way the onions will be really soft and the immersion blender will just blend it all in. You could do that with seeds too, but I have found that the immersion blender does not even get those seeds out, so I'm not doing those. Okay, what did I just say? Seven jars of these. These are pint-sized jars, but we're going to use a couple of our big ones too because these ones were canned in 2024, so I want to get the bigger ones used. So I think that should be good. That leaves us with a little bit more to hopefully get us through until tomato season. We've just been craving a regular pasta sauce, and that spicy marinara is good for certain dishes, but just like an OG pasta sauce, that is what we've been craving. Okay. I said I was going to do it in my roast oven. I think because we're doing the tomato sauce, I think we'll just do it in a big thing on the stovetop. It should be fine because it'll cook down a little bit quicker than if we were using the diced tomatoes. We'll use our big stock pot. I needed 14 of these jars. Okay, so this represents kind of 2 pints, I think, so I need to go and get 4 more pint jars. The other thing with making it on my stovetop is I found that it makes it a little bit quicker on the stovetop than in my roaster oven. My roaster oven sometimes takes a very, very long time to cook things. It's like a slow cooker kind of. Okay, so I grabbed actually 1 extra jar of tomato sauce because I really want to make a big batch of this stuff because, again, we use this stuff so much. Also, this is my son's favorite thing, and so whenever I go and visit him, I always bring him at least a couple quarts of pasta sauce. We're gonna put all of our tomato sauce in here. So we got this filled up pretty good. Amazing. I cannot wait to get this stuff on the pantry shelf. We went and grabbed some frozen peppers from my garage fridge. So got a big pack here and a pretty small pack here. So the recipe says 4 large red peppers and 1 large green pepper. So I think we should be good with this amount. Need to get the onions now. It says 5 onions. So we have this really big bag of pre-cut onions. So we're going to use probably a good bit of this bag, which is really good to get these out of the freezer. I have 3 more gallon-sized bags of chopped onions in my garage fridge. So much onions. My onions were not good last year. Like, I got a pretty okay harvest, but they just did not store very well. I had to pretty much pre-chop all of my onions and put them in the freezer. I forgot a jar in here. bring this in. Having fresh onions is nice for some recipes, but I really do love having frozen onions because it takes the prep work out of all of it. So we're gonna use some tomato paste. I do not can my own tomato paste because you need so many tomatoes in order to make paste. I just buy these from Costco. I think this is Costco, yeah, Kirkland. So we're gonna use 4 of these. I honestly buy this once a year. I do not use a lot of tomato paste, but we ran out of our pizza sauce, and you can make a really good pizza sauce with tomato paste, so we might end up going through this a little bit more. I have about half a box. I may add that to my Costco list. I have a Costco list on the go right now for the month of April because we're almost near the end of March. Can't believe it. So a couple of things I realized that I need to kind of have a good stock of in my pantry that I'm lacking. So we might be doing a Costco trip sooner than later so that I can get some of those on my pantry shelf. Have that extra jar that I forgot. We're immersion blending this, so I will get some of these smooth, but I really don't want chunky peppers in my sauce. So I am gonna dice these pretty small, and they are rock frozen because we just took them out of the freezer. See how easy this goes. I like to freeze my peppers like this, just in slices like this, because we love to have fajitas, and frozen peppers are perfect. You can just marinate the peppers all day. You don't have to necessarily have fresh peppers to do it. So I just cut them up like that, and plus it's perfect for recipes. But I think this year I'm gonna actually use my chopper, and I'm gonna dice some peppers so that for recipes like this, I already have them pre-diced. Take some of the prep work out. I'm going to try to get them in really small pieces. Probably have too much on this cutting board right now. We'll add these in here. Okay, we got the last bit of peppers chopped up. All right, and then we're going to add some onions in. So probably going to add maybe about almost this whole bag in here. Stir them in. Yeah, we'll just add the whole bag in. If you don't have onions and peppers in your freezer, I would recommend, instead of buying fresh, I would actually recommend going to the freezer section and buying a bag of frozen peppers and onions and using that in here. I know that you can buy a mix of them. You could probably even buy them separate. That might be a little bit more cheaper if you do not have them fresh. The reason I'm not recommending buying them fresh is unless you can get them on sale, peppers are pretty crazy priced. I would buy frozen over fresh, especially for this recipe because it doesn't matter. And then that way it can save you a little bit of money. Just opening up my cans of tomato paste because we're going to get those added in. Tomato paste has to be one of the hardest jars to open. I don't know why. They just fight me all the time. Okay, you want to know why they were fighting me? Because I was opening the bottom of the jar and not the top. Tomato paste is really weird like that. You would think you would cut the top of this because this is the way that it displays. Cutting the bottom, much easier. Okay, so we're gonna add, what size are these? These are 6-ounce jars, so we're gonna add 4 of them. So next up, we are going to add some liquid aminos. You can use coconut aminos in this as well, or you can use like a soy sauce, but I would recommend using like a low sodium one because you don't want it to be too salty. So we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of liquid aminos to this. And then next, we're gonna add some Worcestershire sauce. We're gonna add 3 tablespoons of this stuff. And then you want to add about 10 cloves of garlic. Again, frozen stuff. I love having this stuff available to me because it makes things so quick. So we're going to add this much garlic. Really, you can never have enough garlic in it. We love garlic. All right, and then next up, we're going to add some sweetener. Now, it all depends on what type of sweetener you're using. You can use honey, you can use brown sugar, which is what the original recipe I have written down has on it. You can use like a stevia replacement, whatever you want. Modify it to your taste level. You do not even need to add it in here, but I find that it really helps take the acidity out of the tomatoes when you add sugar, kind of balances it out. So I'm going to use 1 cup of some coconut sugar to it. It's very, very similar to a brown sugar. It'll add like a nice caramel taste to it. But again, you don't have to add any type of sweetener if you don't want. And I might even end up adding more to this once I taste it and see how it is. I kind of add everything and then go in and just adjust what I think it's lacking. Okay, so we're going to put 1 cup coconut sugar, and then we're going to add a 1/4 cup of salt. You can use a kosher salt. That's what I'm using. Actually, I'm using a sea salt in this. 3 tablespoons of dried oregano and 3 tablespoons of dried basil. So I just picked this stuff on Sunday, I think. So it's not completely dry, but that's fine. So we'll just add a good portion of it in here. And then I have some dried basil from last year's garden. So we'll add 3 tablespoons of that. Smells so good. Probably more than 3 tablespoons. Ooh, we're gonna add bay leaves. We're gonna do something fun for bay leaves. A couple years ago, I bought a little tiny bay laurel start, which is essentially like a bay leaf tree. In the winter, I bring it inside, and in the summer, I just put it on my greenhouse deck, and it does really, really well. It's not quite big enough to be planted outside, and in the winter here, it would not survive our winters. So it's an inside plant, and I just keep it in a pot that I can just easily bring it in and out of. So we're gonna pick 2 bay leaves off of this, and that is what we're going to use in our sauce. So we'll get a nice big bay leaf. Actually, maybe we'll pick 3, and then we'll get a little one, and we'll grab this one. That's my bay laurel tree. We'll put the bay leaves in here, and then optional red pepper flakes. I'm trying to make a spicy sauce. These are my pepper flakes that I dehydrated last year. They are very, very hot. Now I have written down here 2 teaspoons of red pepper flakes. I am literally just putting in a pinch of this because this stuff, a little goes a very, very, very long way. That's why you can see I have a lot left in here because I don't use very much of it. It is super hot. I think it's like a mix of red jalapenos. I think I have serranos in there. It's just really, really hot. Stir all of this stuff in here, and then we will get the heat turned on. Right now, I'm going to turn it on to like a medium-high heat so that I can get it to come to a boil. And then once it gets there, I'll turn it down to a simmer. Our garlic's still chunky and frozen in here. I am not going to do a taste test on it this minute because I want this to kind of cook for a little bit, and I want that garlic to infuse, the onions to infuse. I think if I do a taste test right now, it's not going to be where I need it to be because that onion and garlic hasn't had a chance to work its way into the tomato sauce. So we're going to let it sit here again once it gets to that simmer, probably for a couple of hours. Then we'll come back and adjust it and see if we need to add any more aminos or salt or sugar, anything like that. But we'll let it work together. This recipe is very, very much like the cheap canned pasta sauce that you can buy at the grocery store. This recipe I kind of developed because when my kids were little, and I hate to say the time, but 20 plus years ago, when we had literally no money, I would make cheap canned pasta sauce. And back then, again, 20 plus years ago, ground beef was not very expensive. So I would ground up some ground beef, put the cheap can of pasta sauce in, and noodles were really, really cheap. You could usually get a pack of noodles back then for like 50 cents a package. And that was a quick, easy, cheap meal to make to them. Anyways, so they kind of grew up loving that canned sweet pasta sauce. And then when I started gardening and making my own pasta sauce, it just wasn't the same thing because it just didn't have that sweetness to it. It was missing a whole bunch of those flavors that I remember from the canned stuff. This recipe, I have totally tweaked it and made it taste very, very similar to that stuff. If you do not like a sweeter pasta sauce, then you can easily adjust it again by just modifying the sugar and the sweetness. Okay, so we're gonna let that do its thing. And then we'll come back once it's sat for a couple hours, do a taste test and see if we need to modify anything. Hopefully it doesn't need to cook down for 10 hours like it does in the roaster oven. Hopefully we can get this done in like 4 hours. I would love that. Get it canned and put on our pantry shelf. I can really smell this sauce and I wanna make sure it's not burning on the bottom. So yeah, stuff's sticking. I'm gonna turn the heat down because it's starting to stick on the bottom and we want this just to be at a low simmer. It's pretty aggressively boiling right now. And we're actually gonna simmer it with the lid off. Keeping the lid on is really good if you wanna keep the moisture in. Like for example, if you're making a recipe and you're adding dried pasta to it and you need to rehydrate that pasta, you're gonna put the lid on it and that's going to help hydrate that pasta. But if you're making a sauce like this and you want it to be thicker, you wanna keep that lid off so all that moisture evaporates into the air and it helps thicken the sauce up. So we just got it to a boil, so now we're gonna leave that lid off. And I'm just scraping the bottom because there's stuff stuck to the bottom of it. It smells very tomatoey. I'm thinking that we are going to have to add some more salt to this and some sugar, just basing it off of the smell. I also turned the heat down to a really, really low simmer. We don't need to aggressively boil this. And you do not need to make a huge pot like this, and you do not need to can this. If you want to make just a little tiny version of it, just take my recipe and just put little bits into it. Like just use maybe a quart-sized jar of tomato sauce and then just add just a little bit of salt, you know, all the seasonings that we added in there. And then that way you can maybe test the recipe out and see if you like it. And then if you do like it, then you can just make a huge batch like this and can it. We got some rabbit babies. They are about 3 weeks old now. Very, very squirmish. Say hi. They are a lionhead lop mix. They're all hiding. That's Mama over there. That's Lully. We call her Lully. I don't know how Ian came up with that name. Let's get out here and replenish some of our oregano that we just used. This all is oregano. We got some sage there. Trying to grow a special variety of sage. I forget what this kind is called. This is a lemon thyme. This is parsley in here. And then this side, that's actually some more sage. We've got some echinacea. These right here are echinacea plants. And then all of this side, we just cut it down, but it will come back without a doubt. This is all mint. So this is regular mint. That is lemon balm. And then we have some chocolate mint in here as well. The chocolate mint looks a little bit different from the regular mint. Like here's a regular mint right there, and there's a chocolate mint. So this whole side is mint. That's why I said they're meeting in the middle. Like this is oregano right here. That's mint. We got a war brewing. Who can take over the bed? Feeling like oregano is going to win. This poor parsley. And I think this is rosemary. Pretty sure that's rosemary. And I had no clue that I had rosemary in there. I just tasted it the other day and I'm like, what is this? Like, that is rosemary. No idea. So glad to know I have rosemary in here now. This stuff is all starting to come to life again. But I just need to harvest some of this oregano to restock what we just used. I just come in with scissors and just cut it like this. And then it's got all these twigs in it. So I just pick the twigs out. And then put the oregano in my basket, which you guys are leaning up against right now. Oregano is something that I will never, ever, ever have to buy again. I thought it was an annual and I just put some down, and I just realized over the years that it is not. It is a very, very aggressive, mint family member. In fact, I think this actually trumps the mint. I think mint is its cousin because this is the big daddy. This will take over everything. This big bag of fresh oregano. I'm going to put this on the tray and let this dry. Have a little fun update I want to show you guys. I was in the garden on Saturday. I think it was Saturday or Sunday, one of the days. I got all of my onions planted. So these are shallots right here in this bed. And then this bed is yellow onions, red onions. There's some white in there also. And then there's a row of onions in here as well. All of our lettuce planted. Got some more spinach in the ground. This is lettuce. I got kohlrabi, cabbage, kale, and then what else is fun? What else is updated? Oh, we have some peas coming up. This is a row of Wando pea. Got them from M.I. Gardner. But all the little peas are coming up now. This is a weed. I'm really trying to use cardboard as a weed barrier for this. We have a whole bunch of peas here. We have some snap peas in here. I just planted a couple more because for some reason this area didn't get germinated. I think maybe a bird came and got it. And there's a brick in here because there's a hole leading to some type of animal. Probably a mouse. No clue. And then this is the fun update. Look at what we have popping up. We got some asparagus. Oh, I'm so excited. So we have two there. We have one little guy over there. That one's really little. That must be like a new shoot. I got in this bed and I weeded it all out, put some fresh compost on it. These are just some alfalfa pellets that I put on. Alfalfa pellets are really good for your garden. It adds some nitrogen to the garden, and it's kind of like a slow release nitrogen. So it doesn't just give it to it all at once. They just slowly decompose and give the garden nitrogen. So I put some alfalfa pellets on there. Also put some compost on there. So that asparagus bed is happy now, and I just noticed we got some popping up. So then in the next couple weeks, we'll have a lot of asparagus. I am not used to this pasta sauce taking this quick to cook. So we're gonna immersion blend it now because most of these vegetables in here are nice and soft. And this sauce is actually pretty thick. All right, I'm gonna leave it on the heat. I have it down to a very, very, very low simmer. I'm gonna put my immersion blender in and we're just gonna immersion blend this all. Okay, let's check and see if we got most of the chunks out. Yeah, and that does help thicken the sauce up as well. Looking good. No chunks in it. Okay, now's the time we're gonna give it a taste test and adjust any of the sweetness because this is actually thick enough. I don't really need to cook this down anymore. It is at a really good consistency, but I just want to check and make sure all of our spices are good. Definitely needs a little bit more sugar. The salt is good, and I'm thinking maybe we should put a touch bit more Worcestershire sauce in here. Okay, so I'm probably gonna put in maybe like half a cup more of sugar. Again, we're using that coconut sugar. So we'll go with half a cup more. This is just a quarter cup teaspoon. I'm putting in 2. It is kind of missing like that, I don't know, it's missing something. We'll add like, I don't know, maybe that was like a tablespoon of Worcestershire. This is the point where I start to really go off the recipe and just add stuff because I'm trying to get the flavor profile right. So really it's just a game of taste and add more things. I'm also feeling it's not garlicky enough. Let me get a clean spoon. See if that was good for sugar. Yep, that was good for sugar. Okay, we're gonna let this cook down for about, I'd say maybe another hour. It has gone down quite a bit. Like you can see, this is where we started and that's where we're down. So we're just gonna let it boil a little bit more because we just added those extra flavors to it. We wanna give them time to soak up. So I'd say maybe an hour and then we'll get this canned. You know what the flavor is that I think I'm missing because I'm using the coconut sugar and I'm not using brown sugar is I am missing that flavor that the molasses gives it in the brown sugar. That really does help with it. I'm thinking maybe to add maybe just a touch of molasses to this. It might bring out that flavor that I feel like it's missing. This spaghetti recipe is actually one that we are going to water bath can. In order to make this safe to water bath can, we are going to add some lemon juice to it. That helps bring up the acidity level. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice to each quart-sized jar. I really did not want to do these in quart-sized jars because honestly, it is too much pasta sauce for us whenever we go to use it. I wish I had a 1.5 pints. They're like a taller jar. I have 3/4 pints, which is smaller than a pint, but I need something in between this and a pint jar, and that's perfect for us. It's just, I find it makes too much sauce in a recipe, but we don't have those jars, so we're gonna get the water bath canner started. Get those jars warmed up. I unfortunately, with my countertop water bath canner, cannot water bath quart-sized jars. It is not big enough to do that. The water does not cover the jars by 1 inch. I have to do everything on my stovetop one. So if we have more than 7, then I'm just gonna have to do 2 batches because I don't have another water bath canner to go on the stovetop. Hopefully we get more than 7. That would be nice because, again, keep reiterating this, we eat this a lot. I said once a week, maybe not once a week. Maybe we eat it like once every couple weeks. So we need quite a bit. This will hopefully tie us over until tomato season, until I can make some fresh stuff with the fresh garden tomatoes. I'm really focusing on growing a lot of paste tomatoes this year so that I can make a lot of sauce. I would recommend using the bottled lemon juice in this recipe just to keep it canning safe, because we know that this lemon juice has 5% acidity, and that's what you need in order to safely water bath can these. If you did not want to add the lemon juice, you could probably pressure can these. I have never done that. I don't have information on how to do that, but that is one way without adding like the extra acidity. You can kind of get away from that, but I don't have any information on that to even verify if that's safe or not. Jars out. Probably gonna have to empty some of this water because I'm thinking there's gonna be too much water in here. You could also use citric acid instead of lemon juice if you don't have lemon juice. I have done that before. Oh, I need a ladle. I'm just giving this a stir. I am more than positive we are going to fill all these jars, so I'm going to put lemon juice in all of them. And again, I'm doing 2 tablespoons per quart. We'll get another bottle of lemon juice. This is another thing that's on my Costco list, especially going into canning season. Lemon juice is actually something that I do not keep a really big stock of. Lemon juice has an expiry date, and it is not one of those loosely expiry dates. It is definitely use it by the expiry date type of thing. It does not stay good after it. So I don't keep a big stockpile of this. If you use a lot of it, obviously keep a lot of it, but I don't use it enough to keep like 6 bottles of these. I usually keep about 2 on hand. And let's add these. Oh, what are we doing for headspace? We are doing 1/2 inch headspace. We have a little bit of sauce left. I have a plan what to do with this. I'll tell you in 1 second. Let's just get these in the canner first. So I'm just gonna debubble these, make sure there's no air pockets in them. Adjust the headspace if needed. And then we'll use our clean rag and we'll get the tops cleaned off. And we'll get our lids on these. The rings on to fingertip tight. And then get these put into the water bath canner. There we go, just enough water. That is turned on high. Get the lid on here. So once these get to a full rolling boil, we're gonna set the timer for 40 minutes. After the 40 minutes, we will come take the lid off, let these jars rest in here for about 5 to 10 minutes off of the heat, and then we'll take them out and let them rest on a towel for about 12 to 24 hours. We have quite a bit of sauce left, and we don't have room in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna can some sauce in some pint-sized jars, and we're gonna can them in our countertop water bath canner. I thought that this would be great to have some sauce in pint-sized jars if just, let's say, I want to have just a small meal for lunch or something. This would be perfect for serving for one person. Or like if I'm just doing like a ravioli and I just want a light sauce on it, perfect for that. So we're gonna do some in pint-sized jars, and then that way we don't have to do 2 batches in here. Oh, and I need to get the lemon juice back out. And because we're doing pint-sized jars, we only need to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice to these jars. And I'm not gonna fill all of these jars with lemon juice because I don't know if I'm gonna use them all or not. So we'll just start with 4. Same thing, we're gonna leave that 1/2 inch headspace on these. We only had enough for 2 1/2, so this one will go in my fridge. We'll just eat it this week sometime in something. I'm just gonna debubble these. I already kind of cleaned the tops, but I'll just do it again. Put our lids on, put the rings to fingertip tight, and then get these put into the water bath canner. I need to add water because these need to be covered with 1 inch of headspace. A really good thing to do is to put water into the jars and put them in here, and then you can water bath can the water, and then you have water if you need water on your pantry shelf. That's a great option. We actually have quite a bit of stock of water right now, so I'm not going to do that. It is definitely not the best option to run your canner with only 2 of them in it. You kind of want to have a full canner, but we're just going to do this for now. We're going to can these for 40 minutes as well. We are all done for today, thank goodness. That is a project that I have been procrastinating for a very, very long time, and I don't know why. I think it's because I was intimidated thinking I was using my diced tomatoes, and it just takes so long to use that food mill. I really think I'm gonna try to invest in one of those food mills this year because I just procrastinate when it comes to doing things like raspberry jam, things like that because of the seeds and stuff. And I think if I had one of those strainers, I think it's called a tomato strainer, and you can do jams and stuff with it as well. But I think if I had one of those, I would not be procrastinating so much with doing today's project. I'm super happy it came together within a couple of hours because we were using that already cooked down tomato sauce, which is awesome. So that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.